My beloved, listen closely, for this is not a story of coins or currency. It is the revelation of a sacred energy that flows through every corner of existence. Money is not your enemy. It is not cruel, nor cold, nor distant. It is a mirror that reflects the energy you hold toward it. When you fear money, you push it away. When you bless it, when you love it, when you trust it, it rushes toward you like an old friend returning home. Most people live their lives in quiet fear of lack. They wake up worrying about bills, they fall asleep counting debts, and they walk through the day holding invisible chains of anxiety around their hearts. But fear is the great repeller. Fear says there is not enough. Fear says, I must struggle, I must strive, I must hold tightly. Yet the universe is infinite. It knows no shortage. It flows endlessly, generously, abundantly. Money, too, is a current in that divine river. It flows where it is welcomed with faith and appreciation. It avoids where it is feared, condemned, or resented. Think of it. Would you visit a home where you are constantly blamed, cursed, and mistrusted? No, you would stay away. So does money. When you speak of it with love, when you handle it with care, when you thank it for its presence, it feels your vibration and returns multiplied. There is a divine law called the law of circulation. What you give with joy returns tenfold. You are not meant to be a reservoir, but a channel. The tighter you cling, the less room you leave for the flow to move. Release the grip. Let giving and receiving dance together as one eternal rhythm. When you give to bless, not to impress, you align with the rhythm of creation itself. Your subconscious mind, my dear, is the soil where the seeds of abundance either grow or wither. Many were taught from childhood that money is evil or that spiritual people must live poor. What a distortion of divine truth! Money is neither holy nor wicked. It is neutral power shaped by the consciousness of its keeper. In the hands of love, it becomes a force for good. In the hands of fear, it becomes chaos. So what should you do? Begin to speak words of prosperity. Affirm daily, I live in a universe of divine supply. Money loves me, and I love it back. I am open, receptive, and worthy. Say it not with doubt, but with certainty, for the universe listens to conviction, not complaint. Even when appearances suggest lack, hold your faith. Do not let numbers on a screen or papers in a wallet dictate your peace. The invisible supply is far greater than the visible one. Every opportunity, every idea, every connection, these are the currency of the divine, waiting to be translated into form. Money loves order, clarity, and intention. Treat it as you would a guest of honor. Track it with love, not fear. Spend it with purpose, not guilt. Save it with joy, not anxiety. Use it to uplift, to build, to bless. When you operate from love, the law of increase begins to unfold, quietly, powerfully, inevitably. And remember this, abundance is not measured by what you possess, but by how freely you allow it to move through you. You are a vessel of divine circulation. The moment you stop fearing lack, the moment you stop clutching at scarcity, the universe recognizes your trust and pours into you more than you imagined possible. Money is not a test, it is a teacher. It reflects your consciousness, your worthiness, your faith. So love it as you would love sunlight, knowing it is a gift from the divine source that never truly runs out. When you stop fearing money, it begins to adore you. It follows your joy, it multiplies your peace, and it flows where your gratitude leads. So rise above the illusion of lack. Stand firm in your faith. Speak the language of wealth with reverence, and let the divine whisper through you. You are not meant to chase abundance. You are abundance itself. And as you walk in that knowing, watch how the universe rushes to confirm it. For when you stop fearing money, it will indeed start loving you back. Money is not just paper or metal. It is a living, breathing energy that flows through the universe like a current of divine intelligence. It carries with it vibration, movement, and purpose. Those who understand this truth realize that money is not something to chase, hoard, or fear. It is something to align with, something to flow with. Just as a river does not struggle to reach the ocean, Money does not struggle to find those who are in harmony with its frequency. It moves naturally toward those who understand its language, faith, gratitude, and love. When you begin to see money as energy rather than matter, you begin to unlock one of the greatest spiritual secrets on earth. Everything in creation is vibration. Every word, every thought, every intention sends a frequency into the universe. Money, too, responds to vibration. If you approach it with fear, it withdraws. If you approach it with love, it expands. The energy of money reflects back to you what you believe about it. If you think it is scarce, it hides. If you believe it is abundant, it multiplies. So many people are trapped in the illusion that money is hard to get, that it belongs only to a select few, that it must be earned with relentless struggle. But these are not truths. They are mental programs inherited from generations of scarcity, minded ancestors. The truth is far greater, far more liberating. Money is the physical expression of divine circulation, and you are part of that eternal flow. When you open your heart to this truth, you begin to live in partnership with universal supply rather than in competition with it. Imagine for a moment that money is like air. You do not wake up fearing that there won't be enough air to breathe today. You do not chase air, cling to it, or beg for it to stay. You simply breathe in and breathe out, knowing there is always more. Money, when understood correctly, is just like that. It is the breath of material exchange. It is meant to come in and go out with ease. Fear disrupts this natural rhythm. Fear says, hold tight. Fear says, what if it runs out? And in that very moment of clinging, the flow stops. It's like holding your breath. You suffocate the very energy you wish to sustain. The reason money seems to avoid those who fear it is because fear vibrates at a frequency that repels abundance. Fear is contraction. Abundance is expansion. They cannot coexist. The universe does not respond to begging. It responds to belief. You cannot draw prosperity while whispering words of worry. You must think, feel, and speak abundance into your experience until it becomes your reality. The universe echoes what you say, and if your every thought declares lack, then lack will be all you see. But if your words proclaim, I am one with infinite supply, the floodgates begin to open in mysterious and magnificent ways. Money is also deeply spiritual because it mirrors your inner state. It reflects how much you trust the flow of life. When you love yourself, respect your purpose, and live in harmony with divine order, money becomes an extension of that energy. It becomes a tool for good, a servant of purpose, a multiplier of joy. But when you see it as an enemy, when you view it with suspicion, or when you believe it corrupts, then you cut yourself off from a powerful stream of divine energy meant to uplift your life. To love money does not mean to worship it. It means to honor its divine essence, to see it as part of the universal plan of creation. In truth, money loves movement. It was never meant to stagnate in fear. It seeks hands that are generous, hearts that are trusting, minds that are creative. When you align yourself with these qualities, you become a magnet for wealth because you are vibrating in harmony with the essence of abundance itself. The law of life is circulation. What you give freely with joy returns multiplied, not because of superstition, but because of resonance. You cannot outgive the universe. Every time you give with love, you expand your capacity to receive. And so, the question is never how can I get more money, but rather, how can I align with the energy of abundance? For money is not the source, it is the result. The source is within you. The source is your connection to divine supply, which is limitless, formless, and eternal. You cannot exhaust it any more than you can exhaust the light of the sun. When you begin to trust that inner source, outer circumstances must reflect that trust. Opportunities arise, ideas bloom, people appear, and doors open. It is also important to recognize that money responds to clarity and intention. When you are clear about why you desire it, when your motives are pure, when your goals are anchored in love and contribution. Money feels safe in your hands. It flows toward order and away from chaos. That is why gratitude and organization are so powerful. Every time you handle your money with respect, whether you are spending, saving, or investing, you are telling the universe, I am ready for more. Gratitude is the frequency that turns small amounts into streams of plenty. You see, money cannot love where there is fear because fear is the absence of trust. The universe itself operates on trust. Birds do not fear the morning, flowers do not fear the rain, stars do not fear the dark. Everything flows in perfect order, and you are part of that order. When you stop fearing money, you stop fighting against your own divine nature. You open the floodgates to a reality where abundance is natural and expected. Money begins to love you back, not as a master or as a servant, but as a faithful companion on your divine journey. To live without fear of money is to live in the vibration of peace. It is to know that the same power that moves the planets and raises the sun each morning is the same power that provides for you. You were never meant to struggle or beg. You were meant to receive with grace. You were meant to co-create with the divine, not compete with the world. The moment you stop fearing money, you align with the law of increase, and increase is the law of life itself. Everything that lives is designed to grow, expand, and multiply, and so are you. When you reach this awareness, you begin to see money not as something separate from spirit, but as a spiritual companion that mirrors your consciousness. You bless it when it comes, you bless it when it goes, and in every movement you remain calm, knowing that divine substance never runs dry. You learn to say, money loves me because I use it with wisdom. Money serves me because I serve the divine plan. Money flows to me because I am in harmony with its sacred energy. And slowly, something miraculous begins to happen. Life starts to feel lighter. Opportunities appear effortlessly. Unexpected blessings arrive through channels you never imagined. You realize that the world was never against you. It was waiting for you to stop resisting your own prosperity. The divine supply was never absent. It was your fear that kept the door shut. Now, when you look at money, you see more than numbers. You see divine circulation, God's energy taking form to serve, uplift, and bless. You no longer fear the flow, you celebrate it. You use it to build, to heal, to express gratitude. And in that act of love, money feels the vibration of your heart and returns again and again. You become one with the rhythm of abundance, and in that sacred dance, money does not control you. You and money move together, guided by the divine intelligence that created worlds. Fear is the great barrier between man and his divine inheritance. It stands like an invisible wall between you and the life of abundance that was always meant to be yours. Every time you worry about not having enough, every time you look at a bill and feel dread, every time you compare yourself to others and feel small, you send a signal into the universe that says, I do not trust the source of my supply. And the universe, being exact in its reflection, answers you according to that vibration. Fear is the language of separation. It declares, I am alone, I must struggle, I must fight for survival. Yet in truth, you are never alone, never without help, never without divine supply. Fear blinds the eyes of faith and deafens the ears of intuition. It is the great illusionist showing you a world of lack while hiding the infinite ocean of abundance that exists just beyond the veil of your thoughts. When you fear money, you are not merely fearing the absence of it. You are fearing your own power to create, to attract, to receive. You are doubting your connection to the divine order that governs all life. Money, like any form of energy, is deeply sensitive to vibration. It gravitates towards certainty, gratitude, and joy. When you fear it, you repel it, for fear creates resistance. Imagine trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you grip, the more it escapes. Fear works the same way. It makes you clutch at life, at resources, at opportunities, until everything you hold begins to slip through your fingers. You must understand that fear of money is not natural, it is learned. It is planted early in life, often through the anxious voices of those who struggled before you. You may have heard phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for every penny, or we can't afford that. Each statement carved a message into your subconscious. Money is scarce, it is difficult, it is dangerous. And so, even as an adult, that hidden belief still whispers whenever you think of wealth. The moment you desire something more, fear rises like a shadow and says, "What if it doesn't come? What if you fail? What if you lose everything?" But those are not the voices of truth. They are echoes of an old, false identity built on limitation. The truth is this: fear blocks the flow of divine energy. It shuts the door through which blessings enter. The universe responds not to need but to belief. You can cry out for prosperity all you want, but if fear still lives in your heart, your vibration will contradict your words. You cannot attract wealth while feeling unworthy of it. You cannot magnetize success while expecting failure. The energy of fear is dense and heavy. It pulls you downward, slowing the movement of ideas, opportunities, and intuition. But faith is light. Faith rises. Faith opens the channel. Faith says, "I am connected to infinite supply, and I cannot be cut off." When you speak and act from faith, doors open where none existed before. Fear of money often disguises itself as practicality. People say, "I'm just being realistic." But realism that excludes the divine is nothing more than, well, rest fear. The divine is not limited by numbers, markets, or circumstances. It can bring prosperity through the most unexpected channels. When you stop letting fear dictate what's possible, miracles begin to appear. The mind of fear calculates, the mind of faith creates. The fearful person looks at their situation and sees lack. The faithful person looks at the same situation and sees divine potential waiting to manifest. Fear also breeds control. Many people become obsessed with micromanaging every coin, every transaction, every outcome, thinking that control will protect them. But true security never comes from control. It comes from trust. You can only receive more when you loosen your grip. Money, like love, cannot thrive under fear. It needs freedom to move. It wants to circulate, to express, to bless. When you hoard it out of anxiety, you stop the current that would bring more. When you spend it in guilt or worry, you drain its joy. But when you handle it with calm assurance, when you say, "This money returns to me multiplied in divine right ways," you turn every dollar into a seed of expansion. To overcome fear, you must retrain the mind. Every thought of lack must be replaced by an affirmation of divine abundance. Every anxious feeling must be answered with calm faith. Speak to yourself daily, "I am fearless in matters of money. The same intelligence that governs the stars governs my supply. I live in a universe of endless provision." These are not empty words. They are spiritual commands that reshape your vibration. Over time, they dismantle the stronghold of fear and establish a new inner reality based on trust. Remember, fear is faith inverted. It is faith in lack rather than abundance. It is belief in limitation instead of infinite possibility. Whatever you fear, you give power to. If you fear losing money, you are unconsciously instructing the universe to confirm that belief. But if you bless money, if you see it as divine energy that flows easily to you, you send a signal of abundance that the universe cannot ignore. You begin to see evidence of prosperity everywhere, small signs at first, then larger manifestations. Your reality starts to match your vibration, because that is how the universe always operates, by reflection. Fear cannot survive in the presence of gratitude. Gratitude is the light that dissolves the shadow. Every time you give thanks for what you have, no matter how little, you shift from fear to faith. Gratitude says, "I already live in abundance." And that statement magnetizes more of what you appreciate. So when fear tries to whisper lack into your mind, answer it with gratitude. Say, "I am thankful for what I have. I am thankful for what is coming. I am thankful for divine supply that never runs dry. In that vibration, fear loses its grip. The moment you stop fearing money, something beautiful happens. You begin to relax. You start to breathe differently. You no longer look at money as a source of anxiety, but as a faithful companion. You trust that it will come when needed, in perfect timing and perfect form. You start to make decisions not from panic, but from power. Fearful decisions shrink your world. Faithful decisions expand it. Fear says, "What if I lose?" Faith says, "What if I win?" Fear focuses on what might go wrong. Faith focuses on what will unfold right. When you release fear, you also release limitation. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as a co-creator with divine intelligence. You begin to attract people, ideas, and opportunities that align with your new energy. The universe rearranges itself to match your inner transformation. This is not magic, it is law. The energy you project determines the reality you receive, and when that energy is free from fear, money flows in with ease, grace, and joy. So let the fear go. Let it dissolve like mist before the morning sun. Trust that you are safe, supported, and sustained by an infinite source that has never once failed to rise each morning and shine upon you. Money is not your master. It is not your enemy. It is a divine servant responding to the command of your faith. And when you stop fearing it, you set it free. And it, in turn, sets you free. You are not meant to be a container for money. You are meant to be a channel through which divine abundance flows. This is one of the most profound truths of spiritual prosperity. A container holds and hoards, fearing that what it has might run out. A channel allows energy to move freely through it, knowing that its source is infinite. When you see yourself as a container, you live in fear, afraid to spend, afraid to give, afraid to trust. But when you see yourself as a channel, you realize that what flows out must flow back in greater measure, for circulation is the law of life itself. The ocean does not cling to its waves, the trees do not clutch their leaves, and the sun does not ration its light. The universe flows because it trusts its own abundance. You too are part of that sacred rhythm. Money was never meant to stagnate in your hands. It is an energy of circulation, designed to move through giving, receiving, creating, and blessing. The more freely it moves through you, the more freely it returns to you. Think of a river. When the river flows, its waters are fresh and alive. But when it is dammed or blocked, it grows stagnant and lifeless. The same is true of your financial energy. When you hoard money out of fear, you cut off the flow. You create stagnation. But when you give with joy and trust, you keep the current alive. And that current will always return with greater force. The key to living as a channel is faith in divine replenishment. When you believe that your supply is endless and that giving never depletes your abundance, your entire vibration shifts. You give freely, not recklessly, but with love and purpose. You know that every act of giving plants a seed in the invisible garden of divine return. The soil of that garden is faith, and faith never fails to yield its harvest. You do not give to impress, you give to express. You give because you know that by allowing money to circulate, you are participating in the divine dance of creation itself. The person who lives as a container says, "I must hold tightly to what I have, or I might lose it." The person who lives as a channel says, "I am an open vessel through which abundance flows endlessly." The first lives in contraction, the second lives in expansion. The container mentality leads to anxiety because no matter how much you store, fear whispers that it might not be enough. But the channel mentality brings peace because you know that what you release in love always returns multiplied. The channel does not worry about how the next blessing will come, it simply trusts that it will. When you operate as a channel, your giving becomes sacred. Whether it is a gift, a donation, or even a simple act of kindness, every gesture becomes a declaration of faith in divine supply. You are saying, "I trust the flow, I trust the source." This trust activates a powerful universal law. What you give in faith returns in kind. The more you circulate, the stronger your flow becomes. The hands that are open to give are also open to receive. Closed hands cannot receive anything new. That is why fear of giving is the greatest block to receiving. The universe abhors stagnation. Wherever energy stops moving, decay begins. This is why so many people experience financial drought after years of hoarding or withholding. They have cut themselves off from the law of circulation. But the moment they begin to give again, to bless others, to invest in themselves, to spend with gratitude, the flow begins to move once more. The dam breaks and life begins to rush in. The act of giving is the spiritual equivalent of breathing out, and receiving is breathing in. Try holding your breath for too long. You will suffocate. Life requires movement. So does money. But remember, giving without love or faith is not true circulation. It is merely loss. If you give out of obligation or fear, you are not aligned with divine flow. True giving must be joyful, heartfelt, and purposeful. It must carry the vibration of love. When you give with love, the energy behind your giving magnetizes the return. It might not come from the same source. It may come through new opportunities, unexpected gifts, or divine coincidences. But it will come because the universe always honors the vibration of faith-filled giving. Being a channel also means being receptive. Some people are willing to give but afraid to receive. They have been taught that receiving is selfish, that abundance must be earned through struggle. But that belief blocks the flow as much as hoarding does. To be a channel, you must learn to receive with gratitude and grace. The flow must go both ways. When someone blesses you, accept it with joy, not guilt. Say, "Thank you, Divine, for this gift." Every act of receiving keeps the energy of abundance alive in motion. The channel consciousness transforms your entire relationship with money. You no longer see it as a static possession, but as a dynamic energy moving through you for a purpose. You realize that money is not meant to be worshipped or feared. It is meant to serve the flow of divine expression in your life. You become a steward of divine wealth, using it wisely, joyfully, and responsibly. The more faithfully you circulate it, the more it circulates back to you, because the universe rewards trust. When you live this way, fear disappears. You stop worrying about running out, because you have learned that the source never runs dry. You trust that every time you give, a new channel opens for return. You discover that generosity does not diminish you, it multiplies you. You realize that giving and receiving are not opposites. They are two expressions of the same divine rhythm. Money begins to flow to you in surprising ways when you see yourself as a channel. Opportunities appear where there were none. Ideas that once seemed small begin to grow. People begin to show up, offering help, guidance, or inspiration. You attract experiences that align with your open-hearted vibration. This is not luck, it is law. The universe always mirrors your consciousness. When you give freely, you declare to life itself, "I trust you." And life responds, "Then I trust you too." That is when abundance begins to pour in, not as a flood that drowns, but as a steady, endless stream that nourishes every part of your existence. You find yourself surrounded by everything you need: resources, support, love, and peace. And the more you circulate, the greater the current becomes. To live as a channel is to live in divine partnership. It is to stand in the middle of life's river, arms open, heart full, saying, "Flow through me." And as you do, money begins to move effortlessly in and out of your life, always bringing more with it. You become a living conduit of divine wealth, a blessing to yourself and to others. You realize that your purpose was never to hold on to abundance, but to let it pass through you, enriching everything it touches. For in that endless, loving circulation lies the secret to true prosperity. The secret that when you open your hands and heart, life rushes in to fill them again and again. Fear is the great separator between man and his divine supply. It builds invisible walls between you and the abundance that is rightfully yours. Fear whispers, "What if there's not enough? What if I lose it all? What if I fail? And those whispers grow into chains that bind your spirit and block your flow. But the moment you decide to see through the illusion, to recognize fear as nothing more than a shadow cast by unbelief, the walls begin to crumble. You realize that fear was never real power. It was simply misplaced faith. Faith in loss instead of gain, in lack instead of supply, in struggle instead of divine flow. And once you shift your faith back to truth, everything begins to change. Fear creates a vibration of contraction. It pulls your energy inward and tells the universe, I am not ready to receive. It makes your world smaller, your steps hesitant, your opportunities limited. But faith expands. Faith opens the doors. Faith declares, I trust in the divine order of life. I trust that I am guided, supported, and provided for. The universe responds to that vibration with matching abundance. The law of attraction is simple. You cannot receive what you fear. You only receive what you believe you are safe to have. If you fear wealth, it stays away from you, not out of punishment, but out of protection. The divine cannot violate your free will. If your energy says money is dangerous, then the universe will not send it, because it will not send what you resist. Fear of money takes many forms. Some fear they will never have enough. Others fear that having money will corrupt them or make them unworthy in the eyes of others. Some have been taught that wealth is selfish, that poverty is piety, that struggle is virtue. These are the great lies that keep people enslaved to limitation. Money itself is neutral. It carries the vibration of its owner's consciousness. In the hands of fear, it becomes greed and scarcity. In the hands of love, it becomes creation and blessing. When you remove fear from money, you purify it. You transform it into divine energy, a tool for good, a medium through which you express your purpose. Imagine for a moment that money is a dear friend waiting outside your door. But instead of welcoming it, you keep the door locked, peeking through the blinds with suspicion. You think, what if it betrays me? What if it leaves me? So it waits patiently, respectfully, until you are ready. Money will not enter a fearful house, but the moment you open that door with trust and gratitude, it steps in joyfully, ready to serve, to circulate, to bless. Money loves confidence, gratitude, and clarity. It flows to the heart that knows its worth. It avoids the heart that trembles in doubt. Fear not only blocks money, it also twists your perception of it. It makes you see opportunities as risks, blessings as burdens, and divine timing as delay. It causes you to sabotage your own prosperity without realizing it. How many times have you felt inspired to take a step forward? Start a business, invest in your gift, give generously. But then fear whispered, what if it doesn't work? That whisper stops more abundance than any lack of opportunity ever could. But the divine never sends you a vision without the power to fulfill it. The fear that rises when you are about to expand is only a sign that you are touching a new level of abundance. You must walk through that fear to reach your next blessing. To dissolve fear, you must replace it with understanding. You cannot fight darkness by cursing it. You can only remove it by turning on the light. The light of truth says, you are not alone, you are not unsupported, and you are never in lack. The same power that created galaxies also beats your heart. That power is infinite supply. When you realize that your source is divine, not human, fear loses its grip. No employer, no economy, no person holds your prosperity in their hands. Your supply comes through them, not from them. That is the great secret that sets you free. Every time fear speaks, answer with faith. When fear says you'll lose everything, declare, I live in the abundance of God. When fear says you are not enough, affirm, I am divinely supported in all things. When fear says you can't afford to give, respond, I cannot afford to stop the flow. Words are power. The universe listens not to your emotions, but to your declarations. Speak abundance even when appearances suggest lack. You are not manifesting what you see. You are manifesting what you believe. There is an alchemy in courage. Each time you act in faith despite fear, you transmute that fear into power. Every brave decision expands your energy field, making you magnetic to wealth, opportunities, and success. You begin to attract people who resonate with your new frequency, people who reflect your confidence and mirror your light, and soon, what once terrified you becomes natural. The risks that once froze you now excite you. The unknown becomes your ally, not your enemy, for you have learned that fear was only the gatekeeper to abundance, and courage was the key all along. You must also understand that fear is not your enemy, it is a messenger. It appears to show you where you have forgotten the truth. When fear of money arises, it is an invitation to deepen your faith. It says, here is the place where you do not yet trust the divine. So instead of fighting fear, thank it. Thank it for revealing where you need to surrender. Then breathe deeply and release it. Fear cannot survive in the presence of gratitude. As you release fear, something extraordinary happens. Your energy becomes light, open, magnetic. You begin to see opportunities where before there were only obstacles. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. It begins to find you through channels you never expected, through ideas, relationships, blessings disguised as coincidences. You realize that the universe has always been ready to give. It was you who had to become ready to receive, and the readiness is not external, it is internal. It begins the moment you stop fearing money and start trusting your divine source. When you stop bowing to fear, money becomes your servant, not your master. It begins to move toward you, eager to flow through your hands because you have become a vessel of love, faith, and wisdom. You no longer chase wealth, you radiate it. You live in peace, knowing that everything you need is already prepared for you in the unseen. And in that peace, abundance multiplies. For money, like love, is drawn to freedom. And when you are free of fear, it cannot help but come home to you. The divine law of prosperity is not governed by effort alone. It is governed by vibration. Your relationship with money is not determined by how hard you work, but by how deeply you align your energy with abundance. Many people toil endlessly, believing that the harder they strive, the more they will earn. But the universe does not reward struggle. It responds to frequency. When your vibration is rooted in fear, worry, or desperation, you repel wealth, no matter how much physical effort you exert. But when your vibration is anchored in peace, gratitude, and faith, you magnetize opportunities effortlessly. It is not force but flow that opens the gates of divine prosperity. Imagine a radio signal. If you tune to the wrong frequency, you cannot hear the music being broadcast, no matter how loud the volume. The same principle applies to abundance. Wealth is always being broadcast through the frequency of divine supply, but you must tune your heart to receive it. When your thoughts are tuned to scarcity, you hear only static, confusion, anxiety, lack. But when you shift your vibration to gratitude and trust, you hear the clear melody of divine flow. Suddenly, ideas arrive. Doors open, resources find you, people appear. Everything begins to move in harmony because you have aligned with the song of abundance itself. The divine law is exact. It cannot be fooled by outer appearances or forced by anxious effort. It responds only to inner alignment. You may say all the affirmations in the world, but if you secretly believe in lack, your vibration will betray your words. True manifestation begins not with speech, but with feeling. You must feel rich, secure, and supported even before you see physical proof. You must live as though the abundance you desire is already yours, because in truth, it is. The unseen always precedes the seen. You are not waiting for abundance to appear. Abundance is waiting for you to align. When you operate from fear, your vibration tells the universe, I don't trust the flow. And the universe, ever faithful to your belief, reflects that back to you. You begin to experience delays, shortages, and frustration, not as punishment, but as feedback. The universe is showing you where your vibration is misaligned. When you shift your energy to gratitude, your outer world shifts to match. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations of abundance. Every time you say, thank you, with genuine feeling, you open another channel for prosperity to flow through. You begin to notice beauty in small things, miracles in everyday moments, blessings you once overlooked. This gratitude expands your energy field, and abundance rushes in to fill it. Money, like all energy, seeks harmony. It gravitates toward those whose vibration feels safe and joyful. When you complain about money, resent those who have it, or speak negatively about it, you lower your vibration, creating resistance. But when you bless money, whether it's a single coin or a great fortune, you raise its vibration and invite more of it to join you. Each time you handle money, silently say, "I bless this with love. I know it multiplies and returns to me in divine ways." That simple act of love transforms money from mere paper into sacred energy. To align your vibration, you must also release comparison. The moment you measure your abundance against another's, you step out of flow. The universe is infinite. There is no competition in divine supply. What belongs to you cannot miss you. The delay of your manifestation does not mean it is denied. It means the universe is preparing it in perfect form. Comparison breeds impatience, and impatience lowers your vibration. But trust breeds serenity, and serenity accelerates the flow. When you truly trust divine timing, you stop chasing and start attracting. You realize that your wealth does not come through struggle, but through surrender to the divine rhythm of your own path. Your vibration is shaped by your thoughts, emotions, and words. Each thought of gratitude is a seed of wealth. Each word of complaint uproots that seed. This is why conscious language is powerful. When you say, "I can't afford that," you are affirming lack and closing the channel. Instead say, "It's not aligned right now, but the divine will provide the perfect way." The vibration of that statement keeps your energy open and expectant. You are not denying reality. You are affirming faith. And faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Meditation, visualization, and affirmation are not mere rituals. They are vibrational tools. When you visualize abundance, you are rehearsing the feeling of alignment. When you meditate, you quiet the static of fear and attune to the frequency of divine flow. When you affirm with conviction, you reprogram your subconscious to match your spiritual truth. Each practice polishes the lens through which you perceive reality, allowing you to see abundance where before you saw only lack. The vibration of abundance is not something you must create. It is something you must remember. As your vibration rises, you begin to attract people and experiences that reflect your inner wealth. You meet those who uplift you, inspire you, and collaborate in your growth. You find that opportunities appear at precisely the right time. Not because of luck, but because your vibration called them forth. You no longer force outcomes, you magnetize them. Life begins to flow with an almost supernatural grace. Even challenges become blessings, guiding you to refine your energy and deepen your trust. When you live in vibrational harmony with abundance, you no longer worry about money. You know that money is simply one expression of divine energy, and divine energy never runs out. You become calm, centered, and confident regardless of outer circumstances. That calmness itself is power. The universe mirrors it by sending more stability, more flow, more grace. You realize that wealth was never something to chase. It was something to become asterisk. The more you embody abundance, the more abundance surrounds you. In truth, prosperity is not something you earn. It is something you allow. It is the natural result of vibrational alignment with divine supply. When you release fear, doubt, and resistance, you open the floodgates. The universe does not withhold. It simply waits for your readiness, and readiness is not about doing more. It's about being more being aligned, being grateful, being at peace. For when you vibrate at the frequency of abundance, money becomes not your goal, but your companion, flowing to you as naturally as breath. When you release the habit of control and surrender to divine timing, you begin to experience what true prosperity feels like: peace, trust, and perfect flow. Most people struggle not because abundance is unavailable to them, but because they are trying to force it to appear according to their own limited timeline. They plant a seed, and before it can take root, they dig it up to see if it's growing. They beg, they push, they worry, and in doing so, they interrupt the sacred process of divine manifestation. The universe moves with precision. It never delays, nor does it rush. When you trust divine timing, you align yourself with that rhythm, and your blessings arrive exactly when you are ready to receive them. Control is born from fear, the fear that if you don't push, nothing will happen. But control is an illusion. You may influence outcomes through inspired action, but you cannot dictate the flow of divine timing. When you try to, you create resistance. It's like rowing against the current of a powerful river. The harder you row, the more exhausted you become, and the further you drift from your destination. But when you surrender, when you lay down the oars and allow the current to guide you, you find that the river was always leading you to your abundance. The universe knows the shortest path to your desires, but you must be still enough to let it lead. The act of surrender is not weakness. It is spiritual strength. It is saying, I trust that the divine plan for my life is unfolding perfectly, even if I cannot yet see the outcome. When you release your grip on how and when things should happen, you invite miracles. For miracles cannot enter a mind filled with control. They enter through faith. Divine timing is not about delay. It is about preparation. Every pause, every redirection, every closed door is molding you into the vessel capable of holding your next level of blessing. Sometimes the divine must rearrange circumstances, remove distractions, or strengthen your faith before your manifestation can safely arrive. When you force things, you often receive them before you are ready, and they slip away. But when you trust timing, you receive them in fullness, and they remain. Think of a fruit that ripens too soon under artificial heat. It may look ready, but it lacks sweetness. The same is true of prematurely forced blessings. They might appear to satisfy, but they lack divine essence. Trusting divine timing allows your blessings to mature in perfection. You are not being denied. You are being ripened for greatness. Every season has its purpose. There is a time for planting, a time for waiting, and a time for harvesting. Most people love the planting and harvesting seasons, but despise the waiting. Yet it is in the waiting that the miracle forms. Just because you cannot see the seed growing does not mean it isn't. Beneath the soil, life is expanding in silence. The roots are reaching deep, the energy is gathering strength, and the perfect moment of emergence is being prepared. So it is with your desires. What looks like delay is often divine orchestration. The universe is setting the stage, arranging circumstances, aligning people and opportunities so that when your blessing arrives, it does so with ease and perfection. Patience is not passive, it is active faith. It is a declaration that you trust the unseen more than the visible. It is a spiritual discipline that says, I know my good is coming, and I choose to remain in joy while I wait. Impatience, on the other hand, sends a signal of distrust to the universe. It says, I do not believe that I am supported. That vibration delays manifestation. The moment you relax into faith, you release resistance, and energy begins to move again. What once seemed stuck begins to flow. You are not waiting asterisk for asterisk abundance. You are waiting asterisk in asterisk abundance, knowing that it is already yours in the invisible realm. Divine timing is also about alignment. Sometimes the universe delays certain blessings because something within you is not yet resonant with what you are asking for. Perhaps your vibration needs to rise, your self-worth needs to expand, or your perspective needs to shift. The delay is not punishment, it is preparation. The divine will not hand you something that will overwhelm or harm you. It waits until you are strong enough to carry it with grace. This is why trust is vital. When you understand that every delay has purpose, fear dissolves. You begin to see divine intelligence working in everything. The missed opportunities, the sudden changes, even the disappointments. When you truly surrender to divine timing, your energy changes. You move through life with ease, not anxiety. You no longer chase, you attract. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start affirming, it is happening in divine order. That faith-filled statement shifts everything. You release tension from your body, you open your heart, and your vibration lifts to match the energy of your desire. And when your vibration matches your desire, manifestation becomes inevitable. There is a beautiful paradox in surrender. The moment you stop clinging, what you desire begins to cling to you. When you stop chasing money, money begins to chase you. When you stop grasping for love, love finds you. The act of letting go tells the universe, I trust you. And the universe responds, then I can trust you too. That mutual trust is the essence of co-creation. You and the divine are partners in this dance of abundance. Your role is not to control the music, but to move gracefully with it. You were never meant to live in anxiety over timing. You were meant to live in rhythm with the divine pulse of the universe. Everything you desire, every opportunity, every idea, every form of abundance has already been assigned its perfect moment. Your only task is to align, to prepare, and to remain open. The timing of your blessing will always be precise because divine intelligence never makes mistakes. When you understand this truth deeply, fear disappears, and in its place arises peace. The peace of knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And in that peace, miracles manifest effortlessly, naturally, and right on time. There is a sacred connection between gratitude and abundance, one that transforms every corner of your life when truly understood. Gratitude is not merely an emotion. It is a magnetic frequency, a divine code that opens the gates of prosperity. When you live in gratitude, you send a signal to the universe that says, I already have enough. And because the universe mirrors your vibration, it responds by giving you more of what matches that feeling. Gratitude multiplies whatever it touches. It turns scarcity into sufficiency, fear into faith, and ordinary moments into miracles. Most people wait until they have more to be grateful. They say, I'll be thankful when I have enough money, when my debts are cleared, when I finally succeed. But that is the reverse of spiritual law. Gratitude is not the result of abundance. It is the cause of it. You do not become grateful because you are rich. You become rich because you are grateful. Gratitude is the soil in which wealth grows. It softens the heart, uplifts the spirit, and aligns your energy with divine flow. When you wake each day and say, thank you, before seeing evidence of your good, you are declaring faith in unseen supply. That faith is the bridge through which abundance crosses into form. Gratitude shifts your perception from what is missing to what is already given. The moment you focus on lack, you amplify it. The moment you focus on blessings, you expand them. What you give attention to grows. Gratitude trains the mind to see opportunities instead of obstacles, beauty instead of burden. When you begin to thank life for everything, even the challenges, you invite divine wisdom to reveal the purpose behind every experience. You realize that nothing is wasted, that every delay, loss, or difficulty carries a hidden gift. Gratitude transforms what appears painful into something powerful. It takes you out of victimhood and places you back into creation. Every expression of gratitude sends ripples through the spiritual field around you. When you are thankful for your income, no matter how small, that energy blesses it and calls for increase. When you are thankful for your home, your health, your relationships, that thankfulness becomes a magnet that draws more harmony into those areas. The universe loves a grateful heart. It recognizes it as a vessel capable of holding greater blessings. Ingratitude, on the other hand, closes the channel. It says, what I have is not enough. And the universe echoes back, then so it shall be. Gratitude keeps the flow alive. It tells life, yes, I receive this gift. And life responds, then here is more. To live in gratitude is to live in constant conversation with the divine. It is to say, I see you in everything, the sunrise, the breath in my lungs, the friend who smiles, the money that flows, the lessons that teach. This recognition raises your vibration higher than any prayer of need ever could. You stop asking and start appreciating, and in that shift, everything you once begged for begins to appear. The divine does not respond to desperation. It responds to harmony, and gratitude is perfect harmony. It is the sound of your soul agreeing with life. Gratitude also heals your relationship with money. Many people unknowingly curse their finances by complaining about them, by saying, "I never have enough," or "money goes as fast as it comes." These words carry energy, and the universe takes them as instructions. When you instead say, "Thank you for the money I have, and thank you for the money on its way," you invite increase. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become a co-creator with divine supply. Gratitude turns money into a spiritual ally instead of a source of stress. It teaches you that every coin is sacred energy circulating for your highest good. Even in moments of lack, gratitude can shift everything. When you choose to thank life in the midst of uncertainty, you declare mastery over fear. You are saying, "I trust that the divine is at work, even when I cannot see how." That act of faith transforms your vibration instantly. You move from panic to peace, from resistance to receptivity. And when you are at peace, your channel to abundance opens wider. The universe cannot deliver blessings into a clenched fist. It delivers them into an open, thankful hand. Gratitude is that open hand. The beauty of gratitude is that it multiplies beyond the giver. When you express thankfulness, you lift others with you. Your energy becomes contagious. People are drawn to you, inspired by your presence, blessed by your words. Gratitude radiates prosperity because it carries the vibration of love, and love is the highest form of wealth. A grateful person can walk into a room and raise the frequency without speaking a word. They become a living blessing, a reflection of divine generosity. To practice gratitude is to walk in alignment with spiritual law. You do not need to wait for grand miracles. Start with what you have. Thank your bed for rest, your food for nourishment, your work for teaching, your challenges for strengthening. Every thank you builds momentum. Soon, gratitude becomes your natural state, not a momentary act. You begin to live as if everything is already working in your favor, and because consciousness creates reality, it does. Gratitude becomes not a reaction to abundance, but the rhythm that sustains it. When you make gratitude your daily companion, fear loses its voice. You stop doubting your path because you trust the perfection in every step. The divine cannot resist a grateful heart. It rushes to fill it, to overflow it, to multiply its joy. Gratitude is the language of miracles, the song of alignment, the heartbeat of abundance itself. When you live in gratitude, money, opportunities, love, and peace all begin to seek you out. Not because you demanded them, but because you became the kind of person who naturally attracts them. Gratitude makes you magnetic to every good thing life has to offer. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful yet overlooked keys to divine prosperity. As long as resentment, bitterness, or regret live in your heart, they block the natural flow of abundance meant for you. Many people pray for wealth and opportunity, but their inner world is cluttered with old grudges and unhealed wounds. These emotional debts are far heavier than financial ones. They drain energy, lower vibration, and close the channels through which blessings flow. Forgiveness clears those channels. It does not justify what was done to you. It frees you from being tied to it. When you forgive, you are not declaring that another was right. You are declaring that you are no longer willing to carry their wrong with you. Money, like all forms of energy, cannot flow freely through a heart burdened by resentment. Bitterness vibrates at the frequency of scarcity. It says, "Life has taken from me," and the universe mirrors that belief with more lack. But forgiveness shifts the vibration completely. It says, "Nothing has been taken from me that cannot be restored by divine justice." It reopens the flow of spiritual circulation. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is spiritual cleansing. It is releasing the heavy past so your hands are open to receive the future. Every time you forgive, you make space for abundance to return. Unforgiveness often hides behind pride. It whispers, "They don't deserve my pardon." But forgiveness is never about deserving. It's about aligning. You forgive not because they earned it, but because you deserve peace. You cannot hold on to anger and expect prosperity to enter. Anger closes doors. It consumes attention, blocks inspiration, and creates an invisible wall between you and divine supply. The energy you spend rehearsing pain could have been used to create, to give, to attract. When you forgive, you reclaim that power. You reclaim your ability to manifest without resistance. Many also need to forgive themselves. They carry guilt for past mistakes, missed chances, or poor financial choices. They dwell on the should-haves and if-onlys, punishing themselves for not knowing better. But guilt, too, is a form of resistance. It keeps you chained to yesterday's version of yourself. The divine never condemns, it teaches and transforms. Every mistake was part of your preparation. Every failure was a doorway to wisdom. The moment you forgive yourself, you free your spirit to rise into a higher level of prosperity. You say, "I release the past and I step into the new." The divine cannot fill a cup that remains full of regret. Empty it through forgiveness and watch how quickly blessings pour in. Forgiveness also transforms your relationships, which are often the vessels through which abundance flows. Sometimes, the person who hurt you in one season is the very person the universe could use to bless you in another, but unforgiveness blocks that bridge. By holding on to anger, you close doors that divine love is trying to reopen in new form. Forgiveness does not mean reconnection. It means freedom. It means releasing everyone, yourself included, back into divine hands, trusting that justice belongs to God and peace belongs to you. When you forgive, you shift from victimhood to victory. You stop saying, "Look what they did to me," and start saying, "Look what I learned through it." That shift alone moves you into the vibration of abundance. The universe does not align with victim energy. It aligns with creator energy. Forgiveness restores your creative power. It allows inspiration, ideas, and opportunities to flow again because your heart is clear and receptive. You begin to notice synchronicities, divine nudges, new beginnings. Life starts moving again where once it felt stuck. Forgiveness is also a financial law. Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "No man can be truly rich until he has forgiven." Why? Because wealth and resentment cannot coexist in the same heart. One expands, the other contracts. The vibration of wealth is light and free. The vibration of resentment is heavy and constrictive. You cannot attract light while holding on to weight. Forgiveness lifts you back into lightness. It tells the universe, "I am ready to receive." Think of forgiveness as spiritual housekeeping. Every grudge is like clutter in the home of your soul. You may still have space for blessings, but the clutter leaves no room for them to land. When you clean your inner house, when you release the old pain, forgive those who hurt you, and bless what once broke you, you create space for miracles to move in. Forgiveness is the broom that sweeps away stagnation. And as you clean, you will feel lighter, freer, more inspired. The flow of divine abundance will return as naturally as air fills an empty room. Even when forgiveness feels impossible, begin by *willingness*. Say, "I am willing to forgive. I am willing to be free." The divine will meet you in that willingness and begin to soften your heart. Sometimes forgiveness happens in layers. Each time you revisit the memory with more peace, you peel away another layer of pain. Eventually, the memory remains, but the sting is gone. That is the miracle of divine love. It heals in silence, in stillness, in grace. When you reach the place of total forgiveness, something profound happens. Your energy becomes pure, powerful, magnetic. You are no longer pulled backward by old emotions. You stand in the present, fully aligned with your divine source. Money begins to flow again. opportunities return. People who match your healed vibration begin to enter your life. You stop living in reaction to pain and start living in creation with love. That is the final freedom. The freedom to prosper without fear, to give without resistance, and to receive without guilt. Forgiveness does not just change your heart, it changes your destiny. It clears the spiritual path between you and the blessings waiting to reach you. The moment you release the past, you open the door to miracles that were standing outside all along. Forgiveness is not the end of your abundance. It is the beginning. When you learn to love money with divine understanding, it stops being something you chase and becomes something that flows to you. Most people don't realize that money responds to emotion. It is energy, and like all energy, it vibrates toward harmony. When you resent money, fear it, or judge it as evil, you create a vibration of rejection. You push it away without even realizing it. But when you begin to love money, not with greed, not with attachment, but with appreciation and reverence, it feels that love and returns to you multiplied. Love magnetizes everything it touches, and money is no exception. The key is to see money not as a master or an enemy, but as a sacred servant of divine good. To love money is to recognize it as an expression of universal supply. It is the divine's way of circulating comfort, opportunity, and creation through human hands. When you honor money as a spiritual tool rather than a worldly trap, your entire relationship with it transforms. You stop feeling guilty for desiring it. You stop believing you have to suffer to earn it. Instead, you see that money loves to serve the joyful, the grateful, the creative, and the kind. It flows where it feels appreciated. Just as a friend will avoid the house of someone who constantly criticizes them, money avoids the hearts that judge or fear it. Love opens the door wide. True love for money comes from understanding that it is divine energy in form. It carries the vibration of possibility. It allows you to bless others, to create beauty, to give freely. When you love money, you bless it every time it enters or leaves your hands. You say, "Thank you for serving me and others." That blessing multiplies its power, for gratitude is the frequency of increase. When you spend money with joy, it returns with joy. When you give in faith, it returns in abundance. Money is a mirror. It reflects the emotion with which it is given and received. The people who truly prosper are those who have made peace with wealth. They no longer see it as corrupt or unattainable. They see it as natural. They believe that divine supply is limitless and that they are worthy of it. When you align with this truth, you stop repelling abundance through guilt or fear. You stop saying, "I can't afford this," and begin affirming, "All that I need is supplied." This affirmation, said with love and faith, dissolves the energy of lack. It aligns your heart with the frequency of divine provision, where miracles happen as naturally as breathing. To love money rightly is to love what it represents: expansion, freedom, creativity, and service. The divine does not withhold wealth, people withhold belief. There is nothing spiritual about poverty born from fear or shame. The divine wants its children to thrive, not to suffer. When you thrive, you have more to give, more to create, more to uplift the world. The tree that bears fruit feeds others, but it cannot bear fruit if it denies its right to sunlight. Love is that sunlight. When you love money in purity, you give it permission to grow through you. Money also teaches discipline and responsibility. Loving it means respecting it, caring for it as you would care for something sacred. You handle it consciously. You use it to build, not to boast. You give with intention, not with fear. When money senses that you will use it wisely and kindly, it trusts you with more. That is the law of stewardship. The divine increases what is used in harmony with its purpose. To those who squander or fear it, money feels unsafe. To those who honor and bless it, it feels at home. Many people love the idea of abundance, but secretly despise the wealthy. That contradiction creates resistance. You cannot attract what you secretly resent. If you look at someone's success and feel envy, you are pushing your own prosperity away. But if you bless their success and say, their good multiplies good for all, you align with abundance instead of division. The divine has endless supply. One person's wealth does not reduce yours. The more you bless others' prosperity, the more you invite your own. Love multiplies, resentment divides. Love also removes fear from financial decisions. When you love money, you no longer panic about losing it or obsess about gaining it. You trust its flow. You understand that even if it leaves your hand today, it will return tomorrow through another channel because you are in harmony with divine supply. This trust creates calmness, and calmness attracts clarity. The anxious mind makes poor choices. The peaceful mind receives divine ideas. Money loves peace because peace is its natural vibration. In truth, money is not something external to you. It is a reflection of your inner energy. When you feel abundant, kind, and creative, money mirrors that feeling by flowing easily. When you feel fearful, bitter, or unworthy, money mirrors that as well. The relationship you have with money is a mirror of your relationship with life. If you love life, life loves you back. If you love money in its divine essence, money loves you back too. It is not worship, it is harmony. It is honoring the divine intelligence that circulates all things. So begin to bless your finances. Speak lovingly to your wallet, your bank account, your bills, and your opportunities. Say, you are divine substance, and you serve me in love. Feel gratitude for what you already have, no matter how small, because gratitude turns the small into the infinite. See every coin, every note, every transaction as evidence of divine movement in your life. When you do this consistently, you will feel a quiet shift inside, a sense that money no longer runs from you, but runs toward you, drawn by your peace, your faith, and your love. That is the divine secret. When you stop fearing money and start loving it with a pure heart, it becomes your ally, your partner, your faithful companion in manifesting the life you were always meant to live.